Hello everyone and welcome back to game week 3 of the 2024-25 Optegra Championship, where you join me for the Clash of the Titans, GBG Knights versus Muscle Warriors. I say Clash of the Titans, there's no better place to reference that than the Optegra Championship live league table. You will see that both have played 12, both have won 11, both have drawn 1, and both sit on 34 points apiece. Nothing has separated these two all season. When GBG Knights get an emphatic win, Muscle Warriors get an emphatic win. It's just been this cat and mouse game all season, and this is their first matchup against one another. I can already see by the people pouring into our streams that this, without question, is the most eagerly anticipated fixture of the season so far, and could be very significant to determining the overall champion come the conclusion of game week 5. Let's go through the squads, starting with the current league leaders, who have a very impressive goal difference of plus 53 to Muscle Warriors plus 24. That's the thing that separates them. So it has to be said, when you're assessing both of these two and their form, Muscle Warriors have to better GBG Knights in way of point accumulation, because if it's to come down to goal difference, it would need a miracle for them to bypass GBG Knights. Starting with the designated home team, they're coached by Kai Shah. They have Reese Mallet, they have Kai Shah, they have Oscar Smedley, they have George Holloway, and they have Jack Ewins. Muscle Warriors, their challengers are comprised of the following: Hannah Hindley, Jacob Vickers, Shay Murray, Stanley Ball, George Shippey, and Ricken Shah. Their coach, Alan Murray. So when we're talking about the goal difference, I think it's the perfect time to reference or show you the currently top goal scorers. George Holloway with 19 goals across their 12 games, which is really impressive. Kai Shah also with 10 strikes. Adding further description to that top goal scorer standings, not only has George Holloway got 19 goals to his name, he also has 10 assists. So when you're looking at the season as a whole, across Muscle Warriors 12 games, he has 29 goal contributions, which has been a real asset to Kai Shah. Most impressive for me, though, is Oscar Smedley, competing in his debut season, having been promoted from GBG Saracens to GBG Knights. Despite that, he has not looked out of place, competing with some of the best players in the division, and has 17 assists. So he will be one to watch in this one. I'm now delighted to be joined on commentary once again by European champion, let's not roll through all of the different accolades, but your current Premiership champion, current WFA Cup holder, and you have very high aspirations for this season ahead, Mr. Chris Gordon.
Hello, Mr. Sipple. Thank you for such a lovely, glowing introduction there. Yeah, big year ahead. European Championships in September in Italy. We'll be going out there to try and defend our European success from 2019, I believe it was, in Finland.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it does seem a long time ago. So yeah, busy year. Started the domestic league quite well with West Brom. A lot of changes, as many of the listeners will know, with the likes of Marcus Harrison moving home to Greenbank, and Valentino Zagarelli back home in Argentina. And obviously, sadly, we lost Logan Mitchelson. So a fresh squad this year, if you like. Lots of changes, and we're trying to find our feet, but we've done well so far, and look forward to get back here in March for our National League.
Yeah, absolutely. Just 2 weekends until we're back at the Lee Westwood Sports Centre for game week 3 of the 24-25 Premiership. So anyone that will be waiting around for National League action, you've got just over 2 weeks to wait for the next bout. But turning our attention back to this one, this is what everyone has been waiting for. I can see just how many people are tuning in to watch this now. As always, get your comments, thoughts, predictions in the YouTube chat, and we will endeavour to give you a shout out. But I really don't know how to call it. Once again, I'll bring up the live league standings just for your reference, so you can see that nothing separates them, certainly when you're looking at points and games won. Chris, dare I ask you for a prediction?
Oh, it's a tight one to call. I've actually seen quite a lot of GBG in our regional league, and they play some great football and look to get the goalkeeper involved to find those angles to the back post. And then Muscle Warriors came up to West Bromwich recently to play Dudley in the John Goodman WFA Cup, and they put on a great show themselves that day, and I think it was 5-1 that game finished, and they looked deadly every time they went forward. They were creating great opportunities, and Rickenshaw sort of dominated that middle area of the pitch, and Hannah was solid in goal with Jacob Vickers and others contributing to their attack. So it's going to be a really tight game. I'm going to stick my head on the line here, and I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to GBG.
Very interesting. Certainly when you're referencing the standings and factoring in that goal difference, you would say they have more of an attacking threat. Hannah Hindley has been just brilliant since her introduction to this team and her transfer over from Leeds Dynamos. I think they've only conceded 1 goal all season, which speaks to that defensive stability, which will almost certainly be tested. It's almost a matter of free-flowing attack against the most proficient, solid defence. So we will see how it plays out. Mark Kerrison, our central referee, ready to get proceedings underway. And he does exactly that. Kick-off from Kai Shah. Immediately meets Rickenshaw. So to go through the squads in their entirety, Jack Ewins, the designated goalkeeper of GBG Knights. He has Kai Shah in front of him. Oscar Smedley on the left. George Holloway on the right. The single substitute is Reese Mallet, as they test the defence of Muscle Warriors very early on. They have Hannah Hindley as the designated goalkeeper. Rickenshaw in the centre with wingers of Jacob Vickers and Stanley Ball. Oscar Smedley into Kai Shah. Meets a very stationary Hannah Hindley. But just on the spotlight of Oscar Smedley, 17 assists so far this season is beyond impressive, considering that this is only his 13th game competing in the National League.
Yeah, it really does look a promising player. I've seen a lot of him regionally, and he seems to be one of those players that just knows how to put the ball in the right area, you know. If that's a finish himself or an assist to the back post for a teammate, he seems to make good decisions in the final third, and he moves the ball around really quickly as well, so it gives him a chance to catch the opposition out.
Not just that, six goals to his name as well. So when you're talking about overall goal contributions, what's that, 23? That's nearly 2 a game.
Very impressive stats. I'd take that this year myself.
Rickenshaw versus Kai Shah. Round of applause from Muscle Warriors coach Alan Murray on the touchline.
It's quite a big gap they're leaving there, actually, between the defender and the goalkeeper on the line.
Ricochets off the back of Jack Ewins out for a corner ball. And we're talking about Oscar Smedley having a fantastic season. Jacob Vickers for Muscle Warriors having the season of his life, has just found a new confidence and is settled into this team so brilliantly as he puts the ball on a plate for Rickenshaw. Can't quite guide it between Kai Shah and Jack Ewins, but Muscle Warriors starting to put the pressure on.
Yeah, Jacob's definitely a player that catches the eye and is one that's impressed this season. I think that confidence might have something to do with his successful TikTok page. I'll give him a plug there, give him a shout out. He comes up with some very funny and creative content, and he seems to have a lot of success with that. So I think all round football and off the pitch too, he's having a good time of things, and he's leading to some successful performances on the football pitch here. And right on cue, he didn't quite catch that one as he wanted. That is a commentator's curse.
I did ask Jacob Vickers the question about where has this newfound confidence come from. He's got 13 goals this season, which is more than half his overall total goals scored in his power chair football career. So when you're talking about having the season of his life, I think that stat perfectly encapsulates that. So I did pose him the question, where has it come from? What has changed to see this shift? And he gave you credit, actually. He said he was present at your G5 Belgian football festival, football competition camp, and he said playing with some of the leading players in the world and not being out of place made him kind of acknowledge and realise his own ability, and from that he's pushed on to have some remarkable performances in the championship.
Well, that's lovely to hear. I think the event was designed for exactly that reason, give players the opportunity to play with new players, maybe have a fresh start away from club football and enjoy the game in a different light, playing with some of the world leading players like the likes of Momo and Brian from France. And I think some of these players were quite surprised to think that, well, actually, they can do it,
Exactly.
They see the level on the YouTube videos and watch the streams of World Cups and European Championships. But when you're thrown in the action and you get the chance to play with and against, it gives you that understanding that the game is very similar to what we play here, and everyone can do it. It's about training hard and working at your craft to be successful.
Yeah, and it's showing with Jacob Vickers testing his ability and putting himself in a position where he could compete in that tournament in Belgium has just made him realise that he is good enough, and if he was to end the season now, he would almost certainly be in contention, if not a favourite, for the player of the season. So if he can maintain those levels across the remaining 2 weekends, not only will he help his side secure what is looking like an inevitable promotion to the Premiership, he will secure some individual accolades as well. Chance here for Muscle Warriors, indirect free kick to be taken by the young Stanley Ball into Rickenshaw, but it just guided wide of the left-hand post.
Yeah, they're the areas that Ricken really excels as well. He reminds me of a Marcus Harrison. He likes to get stuck in those gaps and those cute little flicks and find space. And I saw him play, like I mentioned, in the cup game against WBA Dudley a few weeks ago, and I think he scored 2 sort of dribbling goals. So he likes to get involved in a battle and find ways to create space. So I'm sure he'll be giving himself a chance to force one through the post at some stage during this game.
Another player to keep an eye on for Muscle Warriors is the young Stanley Ball, the number 10, playing in his first ever National League season. He has 4 goals to his name in the 24-25 season. Really bright young prospect, as is George Shippey, currently on the bench. Jacob Vickers lines up a shot, nearly finds the gap behind Kai Shah. A late adjustment from the player coach of GBG Knights prevents Muscle Warriors from taking a 1-goal advantage. You have to say Muscle Warriors have probably settled into this game the better of the two.
Yeah, it was a big moment that. It looked in. Kai just reversed across the goal line and got a little flick off the back of his chair just to direct that one out for a corner. But like you say, it's been a great start from Muscle Warriors.
Shay Murray on in place of Stanley Ball. Across the box once again, looking for that front bumper of Ricken Shah.
Yeah, Ricken's gone in with the front bumper twice now on those corners. I think probably next time round I'd expect to see that dummy. He's sort of sucked the defenders into staying tight now at the front post. There's been no gaps, so maybe next time round if they get a corner kick, he might let one run through to the back post.
Yeah, you don't want it to become predictable. It's almost kind of a psychological game plan in itself. If you engage a corner or a set piece in a certain manner several times consecutively and then switch it up, it can catch the opposition unaware.
Yeah, that's right. Sometimes you've got to play the long game with it as well. You know, you've got to set those traps. You've got to make the game look predictable in a sense that the opposition are expecting the same thing over and over again, and then you've got that little bit of deception up your sleeve, and you can mix it up with something different that catches them out. You know, if they mix it and try and do it early on, maybe they don't set that trap as well. So they've got to give it a few goes to mean the defenders are expecting it, and then you can switch it. Here we go. Well, it's a chance to see.
Yeah, I was just going to go on to the talking point about set pieces. I commentated 7 consecutive games on Court B yesterday, and I would hazard a guess that 50% of the goals were scored via set pieces or passages of play from set pieces. And we're seeing a shift in the Premiership as well, that people are really capitalising on set pieces as Jacob Vickers attacks the goal. From your point of view, how much time and attention do you give set pieces?
I think different teams will spend longer on it than others, you know. At West Brom, I know that the games are becoming that competitive now in play on the pitch that we're having to look for different ways to try and break people down. So set plays are becoming a bigger part of our weekly training. We might not spend hours on it repetitively doing the same sort of kick-ins or corners, but you know, when we do have those moments in sessions, we'll talk as a group and have different plans in mind to try it off the cuff a little bit, maybe find out what works against our own players when they see something new and they don't know what's coming. So I like you say, it's certainly something that's become evident in the leagues because a lot more goals are being scored from set plays. So I think perhaps teams are watching that video footage as well, which is helpful, you know, having the live stream now to analyse weaknesses in teams' defence and plan kick-ins and corners and free kicks to suit.
Yeah, it was just something that was raised on commentary yesterday, and I think, as mentioned, there was 50% of the goals or so were via set pieces, which shows when done right, teams can really use them in their advantage. I'd like to see Muscle Warriors be a little bit more effective in their set pieces, and they're going to be tested again here. Nothing they've done thus far has really troubled Jack Ewins and or Kai Shah in the GBG Knights defence. Ricken Shah's always engaged it at the front post. Jacob Vickers at the back. Let's see if they can capitalise. Shane Murray to take, will be just out of shot. Down to Jacob Vickers. That's a nice routine. Not before 2-on-1 was awarded in favour of GBG Knights.
Yeah, as mentioned earlier, they're now looking to get that ball to the back post in one. Rickin went in there for a block this time rather than feinting the front bumper shot from the edge of the area. Just didn't clear the space quick enough to free up the space for Jordan to come in and avoid 2-on-1s, but Jacob, sorry, not Jordan. But again, a great opportunity and one that I'll keep looking to exploit.
Shah to take. Oscar Smedley been fairly isolated in the last 5 or so minutes, now just takes responsibility of this kick in. Hannah Hindley likewise has been very isolated and quiet, which speaks to the role that the players in front of her are doing. She's going to be tested now.
Yeah, GBG have struggled to just get that ball moving. They're one of the teams that really do look to play free-flowing football and also get the goalkeeper involved and create another option. But credit to Muscle Warriors, they've kept it very tight, very organised around the edge of the box, and GBG have only really had scraps to play off so far.
Change for Muscle Warriors is a reverse of the change they made earlier. Stanley Ball back on in place of Shay Murray. Jacob Vickers just trying to bypass Oscar Smedley. 7 minutes left in this first half. GBG Knights 0, Muscle Warriors 0. Live on Court B, Sale United currently at a deadlock with Nottingham Forest. That's also live on the WFA's YouTube channel.
It's a real opportunity there if Oscar could have released in reverse. He took the kick in initially, but then drove up the pitch forwards and the ball broke to him and he just wasn't quite set to be able to do anything with it. But they are trying to get the ball moving a little bit more now, GBG.
A game of this magnitude, I have no question that there was elements of nerves coming into this, so maybe we'll see teams just settle and find their rhythm.
Yeah, it's sort of a game that needs a goal just to mean that the one team has something to really go and try and play for, to try and get back in the game, and the other has that confidence from scoring that they can try and move the ball a little bit more. But it's been a good game still. I think it's building up to a big moment, I'd say, and there it could be.
That's a sensational save from Rickin Shah. Oscar Smedley looked almost certain to open the scoring. Kai Shah firing it down to the line to George Holloway. He found the gap between the defence, and there's not much more Oscar Smedley could have done. You have to give full credit to Rickin Shah. You could potentially say that he could have put a bit more angle on it, as could George Holloway on that occasion. But all of a sudden, the game's burst into life, and GBG Knights have had 2 chances to open the scoring.
Yeah, I was so unlucky there, but like you say, it was one of them that I don't know if Oscar could have done any more at that back post. He got a great strike on the ball, it was powerful. Rickin read it well, rushed across and managed to save it onto the post. And then again, George at the edge of the area on the return kick in. I think maybe he perhaps had a bit more space where he could have adjusted that chair a little bit more, but it's great to see the ball get into the back post now and a couple of big chances.
Rickin Shah to take into the path of Stanley Ball. Couldn't quite get the purchase, out for a goal kick.
Yeah, maybe the reverse spin would have been the better option there, just to try and guide that one across to the far side of the pitch, but sort of caught between the two and tried to get a late half spin on it, but just couldn't quite make contact.
Been a great half of football though, as we suspected. Very little to separate these two. It's going to need a real moment of magic for one of them to take the advantage. Kai Shah down to Oscar Smedley, trying to find the gap in that left-hand post, Hannah Hindley wanted to be safe, so swiped into the post. Fortunately for her, the ball had already gone out of play, so she will resume play with a goal kick. You can see the big grin on her face. She needs to maintain concentration there. Her goal kick intercepted. Would have been interested to see if it would have counted had it gone over the line. It did bounce over her bumper initially. Either way, she escapes punishment. She's going to want to ensure accuracy on this occasion, which she does so, finding Rickenshaw. Kai Shah just cushions it off the right-hand post. I think he was aiming to play it off the back bumper of Hannah Hindley and win his side a corner. Rickenshaw trying to bypass George Holloway, which he does so, met by Kai Shah. Mark Kerrison has the whistle in his mouth, deemed too aggressive from Kai Shah.
Yeah, just a little flick of the back bumper there. Mark was in a good position to see it. Another good opportunity here. I think Ricken will probably try and screen it to get a spin at the back post.
Yeah, Jacob Vickers to take direct free kick. I think the intention and the signalling from Rickenshaw is to pass it over to Stanley Ball. Unfortunately for him, it just collides with the side of his chair, which takes it out the path of the Muscle Warriors number 10. I said it earlier, and the statement still applies. I just want to see Muscle Warriors be a little bit more assertive and accurate with these set pieces. Something that they may address at the half-time break in terms of their intentions and how they utilise these set pieces to punish GBG Knights, because they've had several in this first half. I would hazard a guess to say it's double digits at this point, but nothing that's really troubled Jack Hewins, who's looking to break now. He has two players in support. George Holloway as the closest. Hannah Hindley quickly comes across to cover. There was a big gaping hole in that Muscle Warriors defence that Rickenshaw desperately dropped back to fill. We are in the final minute. GBG Knights 0, Muscle Warriors 0. We spoke about George Holloway's goal contributions, 29 across GBG Knights' 13 games. He just they haven't been able to unlock him in this game. Probably had the fewest touches of anyone on the court, something they will certainly want to address in the second half.
I think probably credit to Muscle Warriors on that one as well. They're very well organised. Ricken drops to that goal line really quick and allows a defender to get round the top of the box and just limits that space in that final third. So there's not many opportunities where the central player can get the ball switched across to the back post area. So that tends to be where George finds himself a lot of the time, and the ball hasn't really popped up in his zones as much.
Just ticked over into additional time. Mark Kerrison takes a glance at his watch, has the whistle in his mouth, and blows for the half-time break. As has been the case all season, nothing to separate these two. I'd love to be a fly on the wall to listen to these team talks. From Muscle Warriors' point of view, I'm sure it centres around them set pieces, and from GBG Knights, it's about finding those passing patterns and creating the space to find Oscar Smedley and or George Holloway. Either way, thank you to everyone that's tuning in, to myself and Chris Gordon. We will be back very shortly for the second half. everyone, and welcome back to game week 3 of the 24-25 Optegra Championship, where you join myself, Ryan Sipple, alongside Chris Gordon for the second half of GBG Knights versus Muscle Warriors. A really intriguing, entertaining first 20 minutes of football, but as you can of course see from that scoreline, nothing to separate the two. Let's bring up the live league standing so you can see how this influences things. We've referenced just how prolific GBG Knights have been, certainly in front of goal this season, and that goal difference there speaks to that. Plus 53. They've scored 57 goals in their 13 games, which is 4+ goals a game. Really impressive. Muscle Warriors have matched them in terms of points, but will have to better them in terms of points if they are to leapfrog them. A win here would see them do exactly that ahead of game weeks 4 and 5 in April and May. Chris, give me your thoughts on that first 20 minutes.
One of those sort of games where you see two teams in battling out for those top 2 positions, and can be cagey at times, but they got the ball moving. Each team did it in spells and created enough to take the lead and score an opening goal. I think probably both coaches would have had a chat with their team and encouraged them to perhaps try and move that ball just a little bit more to break the deadlock. But I think with both teams having a bit of a buffer between that 3rd place spot in the league, I don't think a point will be a bad result at the end of the day. They are desperate to get back to the Premier League. So.
No, exactly that. I was going to say in the first half, and just reiterating your point you've just made, it does give me the sort of feels that I get for West Bromwich Albion versus Aspire of seasons gone by, in how cagey it is and how similarly matched they are, and how that contributes to a very cagey looking affair. But as has been the case of West Brom versus Aspire of seasons gone by, it just needs that moment of magic to then spring the whole game into life. So if we are to see an early goal for one of these two teams, I would expect that to be the catalyst for a very entertaining 20 minutes.
Both teams are certainly capable, though. We've seen glimpses of it, so hopefully we do get that moment, and it does lead to a goal, and I think that could really open the game up. But as you mentioned, similar vibes to West Brom Aspire. You know, both teams recognise how important this game is. They don't want to lose. If they lose this one and their direct competitor gets the 3 points, it means that they're fighting to try and make up the gap to try and win that title. So, you know, a point isn't a bad result, and then it's can you hold your nerve against the other opposition and match the results. And as we've seen on the table, GBG have got great goal difference there, so it will give them that sort of extra point come the end of the season if they do end up level.
The team's unchanged from that finished the first half. So GBG Knights have Jack Ewins, Kai Shah, Oscar Smedley and George Holloway. Muscle Warriors, Hannah Hindley, Ricken Shah, Jacob Vickers and Stanley Ball. Substitutes, GBG Knights have Reese Mallet yet to feature. Muscle Warriors have Shay Murray, who had a short cameo in that first 20. They also have George Shippey, should they wish to use him at some point. Just seem to be cancelling one another out at the moment. This is a key battle between Ricken and Kai Shah.
Yeah, two really experienced players. They know their craft well. They're both battling those middle areas, just trying to find a little advantage over the other. And as I mentioned in the first half, I think if Ricken does get the opportunity, I can see him trying to perhaps force one through the post to try and find the opening goal that way.
Kai Shah looking to capitalise on a loose ball from Stanley Ball. As has been a reoccurring trait, just not enough to pick out George Holloway on that wing. Shah into ball. Russell Warriors have only conceded 1 goal all season, and I believe that goal was an own goal as well. So in terms of opposition managing to find success bypassing Hannah Hindley, no one's been able to do so. Can GBG Knights be the first team to register an actual goal? Oscar Smedley trying to spearhead that now. Brilliant work from Hannah Hindley. It's a brave approach for GBG Knights. You can see that they're committing players forward in pursuit of that opening goal. They have to be wary of the potential break and the ability of Rickenshaw to pick out his teammates.
Hannah is definitely very solid back there in the box, isn't she? She held her own there against the 2 or 3 different GBG players flying in to try and put her under pressure, and she wins a team a free kick at the edge of the box, and all of a sudden Musselwhite are back on the front foot.
Yeah, she's been such an incredible acquisition for Muscle Warriors since her departure from Leeds Dynamos. Obviously she's attending university in and around London, so wanted to ensure that she continues her football at the top possible level. She opted to play her football with Muscle Warriors, and speaking to Alan Murray, I just know that he is just beyond impressed with what she's been able to do since she joined. And it's something we speak about so often in power chair football, being a 4-a-side format of the game. One player comprises 25% of your squad, so if that player is one of high talent, it's something that can change your team dynamic completely. Of years gone by, seasons gone by, Muscle Warriors have never been in and around the title race. They've always been a solid team, but never one you would say you would tip for the top. And that is a sensational goal, just as I was talking about how they've come on of seasons gone by. Shay Murray and Rickenshaw combined beautifully. Rickenshaw just letting it roll across his bumper, and in doing so, the gap presented itself between Kai Shah and Jack Ewins, and almost out of nowhere, he opens the scoring. What a sensational goal.
It certainly was. I'm just watching that one back on the YouTube stream now. It's a great reverse spin pass initially from Shay back to Kai. And Kai just recognised he's got that space there. Ricken, not Kai. Ricken recognised he's got that space there, and he's just set for that big reverse spin. And my God, does he find the gap between the two. That is a powerful reverse spin strike. What a goal.
I have to give credit to Shay Murray as well, who's just coming back off again. This is the 3rd or 4th time that they've made this alteration. Love to know the intent behind that, whether it's just keeping GBG Knights on their toes or just the utilisation of Shay sparingly because of other issues. But I can see that Shay Murray, that's his 8th assist of the season, so he's a real provider in this Muscle Warriors team.
From what I've seen of Shay, he seems to be sort of their dead ball specialist, if you like. They get a kick in or a free kick corner in the final third, and Shay tends to be the one that whips that one in with power. And Alan seems to, like you say, use him on and off from that substitution role and bring him on for those almost like the dead ball specialists to come off the bench.
Yeah, with rolling subs, that's something that coaches can look to do. We spoke about set pieces and how they're such an important part of the game. You have certain players that are more dead ball specialists that can strike a ball with precision and accuracy, and utilising them within them set pieces can be really beneficial. It was an open play goal on that occasion. But you can see that the positives that Shay Murray provides, and building on that 1-0 scoreline, Rickenshaw now looking to double the advantage of his team, but this currently means that Muscle Warriors would leapfrog GBG Knights in the standings to go top of the table. Just hasn't really worked for GBG Knights in this one, and that's relatively speaking just because how effective and their chemistry up until this point has been faultless, and you just need to reference their goals for that fact. It's just their distribution to their wide players hasn't worked as of yet. They've got just over 10 minutes to try and unlock it. They're going to make a substitute now. Reece Mallett coming on in place of George Holloway. He'll be really frustrated. He just didn't do anything to influence the game, and his teammates weren't able to find him.
Yeah, sometimes you stood there, lap of the gods a little bit. If you're playing in one of those high and wide areas and you're relying on your teammates to try and get that ball to you in space, if you've got a team that are well organised playing against you, you're not going to see much of the ball, and you're only going to get those flash moments. Unfortunately, he hasn't had that opportunity in space so far in this game. He might come back on and have a moment that decides the game, but at the minute, I'm sure he'll be frustrated that he's not been able to have the impact on the game that he perhaps wanted.
Shay Murray back on in place of Stanley Ball, so it all but confirms your hypothesis, Chris, in terms of his utilisation of Shay at them set balls and dead balls.
Certainly seems to be working. Shay's got a very accurate spin. He's tried to find a gap at the front post there on that one and try and catch the defenders out, but I don't see it as a bad tactic. If you've got a player that can deliver an accurate ball, you see that your team are in the final third and gaining some set plays. You quickly ask the linesman for a sub next time it goes out, and you bring your specialist on to hopefully try and unlock the defence and find yourself a goal.
Not just that, I think there's an element of breaking up the play and fragmenting the momentum of GBG Knights, and the continual substitutions of Shay Murray for Stanley Ball probably frustrates GBG Knights, so any momentum that they start to gather is just broken by that halting of play. And it's also game management, isn't it? It's not necessarily the pretty side of football, but if it secures them the 3 points, I don't think it will make the slightest bit of difference to Muscle Warriors and or Alan Murray.
Yeah, they seem to realise how important this 3 points is. That Ricken's just, like you say, managing the game now. He's holding the ball in a dribble there with the goalkeeper. He's dragged him outside the box, won his team a 2-on-1, and now they get the chance to take the sting out of the game. They can keep the ball in around the opposition's box, and if they get a chance to try and score a second, they'll take it. But for them now, they're probably just trying to get to the finishing line and secure the 3 points.
This could be a real opportunity for them to double that lead. Shay Murray into Rickenshaw. Oscar Smedley called into defensive duties, clearing the ball off the line. Nothing that troubles him a great deal, but with the ball being present in that final third, it's always potential, certainly when you're seeing Rickenshaw in possession and how he can change the game in a split second with a moment of magic. Scoreline from Court A, you can see Sale United 1, Nottingham Forest 1. It's a great game over on Court B. Here on Court A, Shay Murray just readies himself for this corner. GBG Knights 0, Muscle Warriors 1. They've got 7 minutes to hold on to this 1-0 scoreline in what will be a historic win. They do have a tough game later this afternoon, though, against Villa Rockets, who are coming off the back of, I believe, 2 consecutive 5-0 victories. So in terms of playing them at the worst possible time, I think that's the perfect way to sum it up. Brad Bates seems to have found the formula now, which is proving successful for Villa Rockets Lions. Consecutive hat-tricks from Naglis Montvillas will no doubt test Rickenshaw and Hannah Hindley later today. Reece Mallett is going to have an opportunity to equalise here. Hannah Hindley brilliantly across to limit the angle.
Yeah, Muscle Warriors just need to keep that concentration now. From their perspective, the game's won. They need to keep compact, keep solid, and make sure that they don't leave too many gaps for GBG to exploit. I thought that as the game went on, the goalkeeper might get more involved, and here's perhaps a first opportunity for GBG to play backwards to switch the play.
Yeah, Kai Shah across the box, ricochets off Hannah Hindley. Just going back to that earlier chance, and this ricochets very kindly off Shay Murray. That is really unlucky for GBG Knights. Jack Ewins committed forward. You was just speaking about it, and when you do commit players forward, it does come with an element of risk. You leave vulnerabilities and space in behind for the opposition to capitalise on, and Shay Murray did so perfectly there. He was the provider of Rickenshaw's goal. He scored one for himself. GBG Knights 0, Muscle Warriors 2. And GBG Knights have a metaphorical mountain to climb now, because it's fairly one-way traffic.
Yeah, risk versus reward there. GBG needing that goal. They play backwards to the goalkeeper. Find a great switch to the far side. Ball breaks, and as that goalkeeper being so advanced up the pitch, if one deflection can lead to a goal, unfortunately for GBG that was the case. But it was nice to see some intent and trying to do something different to break a solid Muscle Warriors team down. But Muscle Warriors now, you'd expect them to manage this last 4 or 5 minutes and pick up the 3 points and secure that top of the table spot for now.
Yeah, I was going to say, just prior to that goal being scored, that chance that Reece Mallett had, he was very wide. Had he been 2 or 3 metres more central, he would have had far more time to engage that, not giving Hannah Hindley the opportunity to come across. And had he scored that or capitalised on that chance, it's 1-1 and it's game on again. It shows that in a second the game can shift from one team to another.
Yeah, that's a great point. Just watch that back as well on the live stream. You're right. The pitch is so wide. When the ball's over on the touchline with your winger on the one side, the opposite side winger really does need to tuck into that sort of corner of the box area to be in and around the back post to have that striker goal. And Reece just found himself just 2 or 3 yards too far out, and it let the defenders get across. So one to learn from. But like you say, fine margins between what brings success and scores a goal and what doesn't.
Apologies for the graphics on the screen. It is GBG Knights 0, Muscle Warriors 2. And they've got 3 minutes to hold on to this. Kai Shah just trying to force it over the line. Mark Kerrison overseeing that with a high degree of authority. Play continues. Oscar Smedley now. Very vocal from Rickenshaw, commanding his players around, putting them in the most defensive structure, the most suitable defensive structure to nullify GBG Knights. He's done a brilliant job so far. I think you have to say Hannah Hindley, probably the unsung hero of this performance, whilst you can look at Shay Murray for his goal and assist. You have to commend the role that Hannah's played in providing that foundational stability at the back, and the chances she's been able to cut out when GBG Knights have found space in attacking areas.
Yeah, a lot of credit must go to Hannah for this performance. Like you say, it's that solid defence at the back that allows Muscle Warriors to build, and she can defend that box by herself at times, and mean that the outfield three can focus on trying to break down the opposition. She's a great asset for the team and has been a massive part to a team keeping a clean sheet to this point and picking up the 3 points. You can hear Rick at the minute instructing his players to keep the ball in the corner. He's desperate for the 3 points. He's using all the tricks in the books now to get across the line.
That falls back onto that experience that he has. Not going to do anything that risks this scoreline. Bypasses Reese Mallett. We haven't even spoken about the fact this is Reese Mallett playing against his former side for the first time. So he'll be really disappointed with this result. Once again, apologies for the graphic on your screens. It is GBG Knights 0, Muscle Warriors 2. Final 30 seconds of action. It has been a brilliant performance from the now league leaders, Muscle Warriors. And once again, Hannah Hindley across to prevent a GBG Knights goal. A brilliant player, a brilliant performance. A goal here would probably be nothing more than a consolation.
What a save that was, Ryan. Right in front of us.
Yeah.
You know, Oscar, credit to him. He worked a great bit of skill down the line to give himself some separation. Smashes a reverse spin shot at the front post. Hannah's read it so well, rushed across a goal, and has literally just touched that round the post at the very last second.
Out of play. 30 seconds over the regulation 20. Slight bit of commotion on Court B. You can see that Sale United have secured a very late goal against Nottingham Forest. You can see that the scoreline has now been updated. A minute over the 20. Muscle Warriors will end the game as winners, ahead of an equally challenging game against Villa Rockets Lions later today. Player of the match, Chris?
Oh, it's a tight one, this one, because I think when you've scored a reverse spin goal such as that to give your team the lead and to help secure the 3 points, I think that moment alone would deserve the man of the match honour outright. But Hannah's been so solid at the back, and that save at the end, although 2-0, yes, and last seconds of the game, just how switched on and, you know, concentration in the box, and how aware she is of where her post is, and how important it is to be solid. It's a tight one. I think on this occasion I am going to favour the goalkeeper. I'm going to give it to Hannah.
I don't think you're wrong to do so. Had she not closed the gap of Reese Mallett brilliantly at 1-0, you're seeing it's 1-1, and GBG Knights then will have all the momentum. It was a few seconds after that that Shay Murray brilliantly capitalised on Jack Ewan committing forward in pursuit of that equaliser, but that was built off the foundation that Hannah Hindley laid. So rightfully she deserves all the credit, all the praise, player of the match. But what a win for Muscle Warriors. Let's bring up the live league standing so you can see what that does for things. I said at the start of the game, whilst previewing, that just considering the current goal difference, should Muscle Warriors go on to be crowned champions of the 24-25 Optegra Championship, they're going to have to do so by outperforming GBG Knights in terms of point accumulation. and they've got a 3-goal buffer now ahead of their final game of game week 3. So yeah, fantastic game. Thank you to all that have tuned in, to myself and Chris. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We'll be back shortly for follow-up games in the Optegra Championship.